What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Hitting the Field, and welcome to the Season 19 premiere of HTF's main show. My name is Andrew Montana, and I'll be hosting this amazing show for the fall 2024 semester, and it is my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to be sitting in this seat where so many great members of Hitting the Field have once sat before. But as for today, we're going to be talking about three of the sports I'm most personally passionate about. First off, we're going to be looking at the best moments, or at least some of them, from the 2024 Olympics in Paris. Then we're going to be breaking down the NFL like some Wall Street stockbrokers, where we'll be buying into teams that we see promise in, while also selling teams that we think are on the decline. And last but not least, we've got my rant, where I'm going to be talking about one of the best NBA players of all time and how his future is being jeopardized by new CBA rules. Now, this might be the first day back at the desk in a few months, but there's a lot to talk about today, so don't go anywhere because HTF's main show starts right now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
And thank you guys for sticking with us. To my left, we've got Anya Garabashvili. To my right, Tyler Brownrigg. Anya, I'll start with you. What was your favorite moment of these 2024 Olympics?
My favorite moment, it's not coming from the event that I'm going to be talking about later on, but it was definitely the Italian Olympian who was competing in the triathlon. He lost his wedding ring in the Seine during the swimming portion of it, and instead of freaking out about it, he instead, when asked to comment about it, was like, you know what, this just goes to show that my love for my wife is forever in the city of love, in Paris. And just, that was so sweet.
That was beautiful. Okay, Tyler, what do you got?
I would say for me, my favorite moment from this past Olympics was Noah Lyles proving all of his doubters wrong and winning the gold medal in the 100-meter dash, certifying himself as the fastest man in the world.
By
like a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
It was a cool thing to see for him, and I'm very happy for him.
I personally love the Swedish pole vaulter, Armand Duplantis. He, like, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's one of those ones that you're not going to tune into pole vaulting by any means. But everybody, from the bronze medalist to silver medalist, they were all cheering for him, and he beat the world record. And then he ran to his wife, if I'm not mistaken, right after that. That was cool, but also Steph Curry, LeBron, KD. We'll get into that in just a second. But let's start off with shouting out Justice Covert for these graphic templates that you're going to see in just a second. They look amazing. But Anya, I'll start with you. What is the Olympic sport that you want to spotlight?
The Olympic sport I want to spotlight had its second time being in the Olympics, women's speed climbing. But this time it's standing alone as its own event, as aside from being part of a combined effort of climbing in general. So I'm going to be talking about Alexandra Miroslav for the most part. She is kind of the Katie Ledecky of speed climbing. She has her name for all top 10 world records for speed climbing in her name. And she has beat the world record 3 times during this Olympic cycle. Once during qualifiers, where she beat the world record with a time of 6 minutes, 24 seconds. Then in the preliminary round, she broke the world record and Olympic record with a time of 6.21 seconds. And then finally, she won first place with a time of 6.06 seconds. Again, breaking the record 3 times. It is insane. She is climbing almost 50 feet in 6 seconds. It looks like she's being pulled by the rope.
That's wild.
Indeed. But I know we want to talk about some other ones, so I'm just going to quickly wrap up with the medalists that we have. So in first place, it was Alexandra Miroslav. With second place, Dang Lijuan, who also did really well. She set her own new personal best, and she set the Asian record. She represents China. And then finally, one of Alexandra's teammates, also Alexandra Kaluka, she also got bronze, also representing Poland. Fun fact, actually, her sister Natalie is a world champion currently for speed climbing. It's really impressive to see these women compete in such a niche sport. I feel like I always talk about like stuff nobody watches about, but I enjoy it. And it was really interesting to see just how happy everybody was with their results.
It's always great to have somebody to just talk about like the random stuff that no one really like pays attention to. By the way, shout out Ezra Hines. He's that guy with 2010s NBA role players. Like I don't know if anybody matches him with that. But you mentioned Katie Ledecky. I'm going to briefly talk about her as well because we're going to be looking at some American swimming. I'll be talking about Katie Ledecky. I'll be talking about Caleb Dressel. But real quick, just kind of as an overview, USA swimming broke 2 world records out of the 3 total set in swimming this summer. One of them was Bobby Fink in the men's 1,500 meter freestyle. The other was a mixed medley 4x100 meter relay. But first, let's talk about Katie Ledecky. She's taking the world by storm, the swimming world, Twitter by all means, and she's pretty much the, what do you want to call it? First lady of freestyle. I kind of like that. She actually tied the Soviet gymnast Larissa Ladinina for the most gold medals won by a woman in one single Olympics with 2. However, this record has held since 1964. That's 60 years. That's like, what, prime Bob Cousy?
I could probably, yeah.
Yeah,
that's probably
more or less.
era.
I don't even know what to kind of, compare it to. But this summer, Katie Ledecky earned herself 1 bronze medal, 1 silver medal, and 2 gold medals. One of them being, one of the gold medals rather, being the women's 800 meter freestyle. Now, if we want to break that race down real quick, Katie Ledecky, of course, won first place. Ariarna Titmus from Australia won second place, the silver medal, and Paige Madden won the bronze. But real quick, before we go away from the graphic, that was the final match, right? The day before was the preliminaries in Nanterre, France. And my goodness, was that one of the greatest events I've ever personally witnessed. And Paige Madden, with everybody else, including Katie Ledecky swimming right alongside her, Paige Madden took me by storm because in the last few laps, she was averaging a better pace per lap than Katie herself, which I've personally never seen. So shout out Paige Madden, she did phenomenally. But now moving on to Caleb Dressel. What do you want to call him? Like the new Michael Phelps? If anybody's like,
I don't know if anyone you could be like on the level of Michael Phelps.
But like,
the closest person to Phelps is Ledecky.
Yeah.
With 9 gold medals. Phelps has 21 gold medals.
20, yeah.
Just to put that in perspective.
Michael Phelps from Temu, I guess. Which, I mean, shoot, Michael Phelps.
Maybe Amazon.
That's a big name. Amazon. Yeah, I think that's more fair.
Yeah.
That's a little disrespectful. But Caleb Dressel, he won himself 1 silver medal, 2 gold medals. And in the preliminary match, which I also saw, my God, I'm freaking out because I can't believe I saw him. He performed the breaststroke alongside Reagan Smith, who performed backstroke, Charlie Swanson, who did butterfly, and then fourth was Abby Weitzel, who performed the freestyle. However, going into the final match of that where USA won gold, Caleb Dressel didn't perform there. So I'm not going to talk about it too much. You can throw the graphic up because that's what it's about pretty much. China won the silver, and if I'm not mistaken, Australia won the bronze. Yes, there we go. But the people who ran in that final match on August 3rd were Ryan Murphy, who went for backstroke, Nick Fink, who did breaststroke, Gretchen Walsh, who did butterfly, and Tori Husk, who performed freestyle. But yeah, as for Caleb Dressel himself, he's been amazing. He won a gold medal in that event, as well as in the men's 4x100 meter freestyle relay and the men's 4x100 medley relay. But that's enough about swimming. If we want to talk about more splash, let's talk about one of the Splash Brothers, accompanied by 2 of the greatest NBA players of all time.
Yes, I will be talking about men's basketball in the Olympics now. Before I highlight Team USA, who won the gold medal, I will briefly give the flowers to bronze and silver. So finishing in third, winning the bronze medal game was Serbia, led by Nikola Jokic, one of the best players in the world
probably
right now.
Best.
He probably is definitively the best. And they beat Germany pretty soundly. Their only 2 losses were both against the United States in group play and in the semifinal. Coming in at second with the silver medal, losing to Team USA in the final was France. France, they're the next up. All right, Victor Wembanyama, he's only barely scratched the surface. And I know this is France's 2nd consecutive silver medal, and they have the home field advantage, but as long as LeBron James still plays basketball for the United States of America, there will be no one else winning the gold. Let's put this in perspective. There have been 21 tournaments at the Olympics since 1936 for men's basketball. 4 countries have won the gold medal in that. 2 of those countries no longer exist. The only other one, Argentina, won in 2004. The other 17 belong to Team USA. They have won 5 straight Olympic golds. LeBron has won his 3rd. And then it wasn't just LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry also. Those 3 were the leaders of this team. In the final, Steph Curry iced it. He had 2 of the best scorers of all time in Kevin Durant and LeBron James. Wide open, and he takes a double team shot. The last thing I want to say about this is that the debate is over. LeBron is the GOAT. I'm done pretending. I'm done listening to anyone else who speaks otherwise. This is no longer a conversation. This is a simple fact of life. LeBron has proven it again and again. There is nothing else that he needs to do or that needs be done. It is him and no one else. No one will catch him. No one will reach him. He alone is the mountaintop.
I have taught you so well. I'm kicking my feet. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me on air. This was an amazing segment to talk about the Olympics. But up next, we're going to be talking about some NFL stocks with two of HTF's best pigskin heads. We'll be right back.
Why are you here? I don't really understand why I'm here. I got called a delusional fan. I just don't understand why I'm delusional if I think Kirk Cousins had the best mustache in the league.
Well, Jack, buddy, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but I don't think anybody looks cool in handlebars.
But they're back, man. They're back.
They're not. They're not. Sometimes you just got to face the hard truth. It's right there in front of you. All these people, they're calling you delusional, but sometimes you got to worry about, am I projecting? Is it me? And in this
Let me
case,
tell you something, bud. It could never be me. Anything I say is factual and truth, and that's why the Vikings are going 16-1 this year.
organization, you have to look at your roster and say, I've had Kirk O'Duggins for 6 years. Maybe it's time to move on.
There is no moving on from Kirk Thuggins and Justin Jefferson.
Do you think that maybe this all started just because of a little disappointment?
Nothing has started. This is how I live, and I am not delusional.
Oh my gosh, it's the guy from the commercial they just played. How did that happen? Whoa. Anyway, with me today, Ty Patton to my right, Elijah McClary on our left. Gentlemen, how do we feel about Jacoby Brissett starting for New England?
Shout out Matthew Bracker. He called it on Combine. Yes, I am plugging my own show. It's good. It's out right now. Wednesdays at whatever time Nick Cohen releases.
I think 12. I think.
What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, we all saw it coming. I think we all want to see May start, but
Yeah.
we all
No.
expected Brissett.
I want
It
to see
has to be
Jacoby
Brissett.
start. He went
I
to
want
my
to see
middle
Joe
school.
Milton
You
start.
went to your middle school?
He went to my middle school. He came to St. Anne Catholic School and signed my iPhone 6 phone case. And I have, you know those little string bags I bring sometimes to like sports and whatnot? He signed the orange Nike one. So if you guys see that orange Nike bag on my back, just know he signed it. It's worn out since because it's been like, I don't know, over a decade. But shout out Jacoby. We love
There
you.
you go.
Anyway, today we're going to be breaking down the NFL based on off-season performances, moves, predictions, etc., as well as those of preseason. And we're going to be buying and selling different NFL teams. With that being said, would you like to go first, Eli?
Sure. Yeah, so I would buy any stocks you can on the Atlanta Falcons this year, as they went from probably the worst QB in the division to now arguably the best. Kyle Pitts is one of the highest graded tight end prospects coming out of college we've ever seen, and we know how much Kirk Cousins loves his tight ends, Hawkinson in Minnesota. Let's not forget that the Falcons drafted Bijan Robinson last year, first round, 8th overall pick. Last time we saw a running back go top 10 was Saquon back in 2018, so I think we can expect to see a lot more of Bijan this year, whether it's 5 more carries a game, 5 more targets out of the backfield.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love that play.
Fantasy.
That's so awesome.
Fantasy. So the Falcons for the past 2 seasons have had a load of weapons, Drake London, but we really haven't gotten to see much use. It's like having a Ferrari but keeping it in the garage, never using it.
Is that one meme? Yeah.
So I think with Kirk now, we'll get to see more upside out of Atlanta Falcons.
I don't hate it at all. I really like the Kyle Pitts take, actually. We were talking about this
Yeah.
beforehand. My only worry is you have one of the best football teams in the country in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sitting in,
Oh,
that
in their own
And they're
division.
not going to let it happen. It's not going to
Are you a
happen.
Bucks fan?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Do you have any team you're selling on?
I'm selling on Mike Tomlin as a coach.
Mike Tomlin. I like it.
Yes.
That's within the realm of possibility.
I'm sorry, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, but the Steelers have not won a playoff game since 2016. Who did they beat? The Chiefs? We didn't even know who Patrick Mahomes was at this time. So what's the big deal if they keep making the playoffs? The problem is that Mike Tomlin is a defensive background-minded coach with defense first priority when the whole league is an offensive background league. So it's going to be hard to even survive their own division when the Ravens, Bengals, and Browns are all offensive-minded teams.
Yep.
We
And
can
great
all
defense as well.
yeah. And so we can all agree that Mike Tomlin has built a top 5 defense in the league for probably the past decade now.
Yeah,
I'd say.
arguable. But
Yeah,
One
arguable.
of the best defenders in football is on a team, so yeah.
Yeah, and so explain these last 5 playoff losses. In the last 5 playoff appearances, we lost a graphic, but 36 to the Patriots. Yeah, this is the amount of points they've given up in each playoff appearance. 36 to the Patriots, 45 to the Jags, 48 to the Browns, 42 to the Chiefs, and last year they gave up 31 to the Bills. So why are we holding Mike Tomlin up on this pedestal for his defense when the second they limp into the playoffs, their defense fades?
Well, it's the same reason everybody loves Dak Prescott. He's the king of the regular season. You know, Mike Tomlin always has the winning record. You know, that's what it is. He wins in the regular season. He gets time for playoffs. Grade A choke artist, A1, standing
Yeah.
right next to Dak on that podium.
Are
But
we hearing some Joel Embiid comparisons?
Yes, very
definitely,
much so.
100%.
But Joel Embiid did not craft. We do not care. Something it seems
Here we
like Ty
go.
Patton doesn't care about is the New Orleans Saints. If you want to get into why you're going to sell that team.
So the New Orleans Saints stink. Last year, for a few moments, they stunk. My main thing that I want to point out here is Derek Carr and Dennis Allen are the worst quarterback head coach pairing in football right now.
I like that.
Like
That's
Fran-
what you're.
you like
This
that?
isn't best, but like that's what you're like betting on.
That
pretty
they're
much.
terrible.
That they're going to be the worst.
You think
Yes, that they're really
Okay.
going to be bad.
Dennis
So
Allen will be the first coach gone this year?
actually, probably.
Probably.
But so in this case, Derek Carr is primetime Kirk, but like every week. He's terrible. And so in a season where I think their ceiling is sitting at 5-12, the only really bright spot they have on this team is Alvin Kamara. Right? You can argue Chris Olave, but who's going to throw to him? We have a highlight that's going to run here. Look at all these
What was
missed
that, bro?
passes. Watch this.
Oh
This is terrible.
my.
All you have to do is watch Derek
That
Carr.
reminds me
This
of
guy
you.
stinks. Oh, come on, man.
Dude.
That was uncalled for.
Dude,
This
I
is-
am's Ty Patton is.
This
You'd be
is-
4-string on New Orleans.
This is uncalled for.
Oh.
Okay, maybe that's not
kinda
Derek Carr's
dropped that.
fault.
He kinda
Maybe that's
dropped
not
that.
his fault. But still, the guy stinks. Look, an aging Cameron Jordan, the ghost of Tyrann Mathieu. Like, what is on this team besides maybe Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave? Nothing. Sell them hard. Sell them as quick as you can. Make your money back now. There's no going back. You cannot hold.
And whom might you purchase?
Oh, I'm purchasing every single stock on the Houston Texans.
I want to
every
bring
single
this
one
up
of
later
them.
because
So I'm buying the stock that they're going to win the AFC South, that
Okay.
they are going to at least make it to the divisional round, which by name means they're making it to the AFC Championship. It's going to happen this year. That's what's going to
so
happen.
you're buying into the Texans making the AFC Championship.
Oh yeah. It's a tall. It's got a great buyback.
It's
you
in
know,
the back
I'm-
of my head, obviously, in the past,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
love to see the odds on that.
But so C.J. Stroud, Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, and we haven't even sniffed the defense yet. Not to mention D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick are an incredible 1-2 punch in the front office. And this unit's going to come together this year like you never expect.
I like that.
Last year, 2023, 10-7, plus 24-point differential. That's a little rough. You know, that can be tuned up. But after a year where C.J. Stroud has gotten some chemistry built with Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Schultz, all these guys, and then you give him weapons like Mixon and Diggs, I think it's a whole nother game for him. I think that these are the kings of the AFC South by a landslide.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this just because the team I'm buying
Yeah.
is also AFC South.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this take? I don't know whose take this might be, but for someone who's saying, like, rookie year CJ Stroud, obviously being last season,
Yeah.
caught a lot of teams off guard.
Yeah.
What are the chances that teams that are like, okay, let's circle in the Texans now, like they're no longer going to be caught off guard by the Texans, by CJ Stroud and company? Do you think that could take away a game or two, something like that? Or do you think it's just not going to matter now that the team is more locked in? If CJ Stroud's not going to have a sophomore slump, anything like that?
Well, let me give you the analogy of look at the Kansas City Chiefs, for example. Eli would know this better than anybody. When you have guys like Rashee Rice on the outside, who maybe they aren't the best in the league, but you still have to watch out for them, maybe put them in press coverage, and then you give Travis Kelce inside room, you can't cover everybody. So in that same regard, CJ Stroud would have to try hard to play worse than he did last year. He would really have to make an attempt at it. Like, in this offense he has now, if you can somehow find a way to cover Diggs, Collins, and Dell, Schultz is still open in the middle of the field.
That's true.
That's true.
Right?
Joe Mixon
is
in the
in the
backfield.
backfield. Yeah, on a swing route. What are you going to do to stop all five of those weapons
That's a
with
good
an
point.
offensive line like they have?
it feels almost impossible. I feel like there's
like
a
that.
halfway decent chance that they score on more drives than they punt this year, which is
Ooh,
I like
crazy.
that.
I love
I do
this
like
team.
that.
The Houston Texans are great,
Are you saying like top 5, top 10 offense?
easily.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
top 5. Let's say that.
You know, check out the combine. We said it there first.
that's
CJ
true.
Stroud MVP.
That
It's
is
gonna
true.
happen this year. MVP season.
Okay. So I guess with that in mind, I mentioned it previously, but I'm saying that Jacksonville is going to make the playoffs. Granted, if Jacksonville does make it, it's for some reason that the Houston Texans don't perform, or if there's injuries, getting in the way, whatnot, and Jacksonville makes it as a 4 seed, or they just try to make it as a 7th. But I'm just going to break down some of these numbers for you. In the preseason, they went 3-0, beating your Chiefs, your Bucks,
That's crazy.
and John Warner's Atlanta Falcons 31-0. I mean, obviously preseason isn't like the regular season, but it's promising for the secondary.
Can I remind
tertiary
you real quick
rosters.
that Kenny
Yes.
Pickett and the Steelers went 3-0 last year in the preseason?
I like Kenny Pickett. He did a little fake slide in college. Dude, I was so sold on him because of that. I was like, this is the only guy I like out of this draft class. But it panned out the way it did, I guess. Had a couple, Jacksonville rather, had a couple good pickups this season. Signed Gabe Davis from Buffalo, who I'll talk about in a second. Also got Mitch Morse, a center, to take care of that center position that was really fragile in Jacksonville. It's a promising offense. I don't think it's going to be, anything to go to the Super Bowl or anything like that. But you have Trevor Lawrence, who I believe is the highest paid quarterback player in NFL history.
Tied with Joe Burrow, I think?
Yes,
There's
something
a
like that.
couple.
Or no, second now. Jordan
Jordan
Love,
Love,
56 a year.
There you go. One of the most wealthy quarterbacks in the NFL, and that basically means you're okay. Let's win now alongside Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if this team's going to do that. Win now, but I think it could make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
If a lot of things
If
fall
he's healthy,
their way.
too.
The AFC
There you
is
go,
stacked,
yes.
but there's a good enough chance that they could try it.
Yeah.
They can make a push.
And my second team, well, actually the team that I'm going to be selling on is the Buffalo Bills. Now,
There
don't
we
get
go.
it twisted.
There we go.
I am from South Florida,
like
so I
that.
have some Miami fandom, so there might be some bias in my face, but whoever said no to that. I'm saying that Buffalo Bills are going to miss the playoffs, and also like a side little thing, they're going to win at most 11 games. I'm thinking 10, which
Not
is
that
still not
much.
bad at all, but like,
Not that much.
I don't know.
8 to 9.
The main
10 and 7.
some of the reasons for this went 1 and 2 in the preseason. Just gonna throw that out there. Signed Curtis Samuel and drafted Keon Coleman out of FSU, which are both great options for Josh Allen. But like this isn't Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis anymore. That's not that era. There were a lot of re-signed defensemen going back to Buffalo, which is a little bit concerning just because if you're re-signing, it's kind of like implying you're going to run it back. By the way, these highlights are so much fun. It's implying that you're going to run it back, and you're running it back from what? A disappointing last season, a disappointing Josh Allen era. What are we doing here? You want to make some moves before Josh Allen gets any older, any more expensive. On top of that, the AFC East is just about as stacked as it can be. New England, dude, they're going to make the playoffs. I swear. No,
so good.
You got Miami. You got the New York Jets, two of the most electric offenses going into this season. On top of that, both of those teams, according to Yahoo Sports, are top
my
10
God.
defenses. New York Jets being number 3, Miami being number 9. Granted, Buffalo is number 12, but I just don't know if a Buffalo offense with a backtrack, subjectively, in wide receiver core is going to go up against an AFC whose defense has gotten a lot better. Again, according to Yahoo Sports, shout out. There's only 2 bottom 10. Let me rephrase that. Out of the bottom 10 defenses in the NFL, only 2 of them are AFC. So,
I know this is your show and all.
oh,
you know?
shoot, I'm going to get
So
kicked.
do what you're doing,
Okay.
but never quote Yahoo Sports again.
Hey,
I
it was-
hate Yahoo Sports.
It wasn't even 1 a.m. It was like 7 in the morning. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. But shout out Yahoo Sports for the information. And thank you both for joining me on this episode. We'll see how our little purchases pan out in the future. Maybe we'll revisit
good.
this later. But coming up after this commercial break, I'm pissed.
Tyler Brown, Rick. It says in my notes you're an Oklahoma fan.
That is correct.
So let me ask you, bud. Is Texas back?
All right, I put on a brave face a lot, but this year, I'm really scared that they are, man. Okay, they just beat Alabama. They're gonna be top 4 in the rankings. And last year, they beat us 48-0.
Yeah.
It was humiliating. We're the Oklahoma Sooners. We were the best ever. We were talk of the town. We had Baker, Kyler, and Jalen 3 years in a row. And now, are we good? I don't know. We haven't won a national title since 2000. We're number 18, I think, and nothing matters, dude.
Sometimes we build up these walls thinking they're impenetrable. But sometimes you have to knock these walls down to build up bigger and stronger ones. And you got to be tough through that. It's hard being an Oklahoma fan at this time, but grass is always going to be greener on the other side of the hill, buddy.
Is it? I cannot live through a Texas national championship. I can't. I'll never recover.
Do you want to talk about Lincoln Riley?
What'd you just say to me?
Welcome back. As I said, I'm pissed because Steph Curry's never going to succeed in the NBA unless there's a serious change. Tyler Brownrigg and I, if you guys don't know who he is, the former host of Main Show who sat in this very seat just a few months ago, we had a long-winded conversation last night before I went to play basketball myself, and we both agreed that he's not going to succeed if he continues to be on the Golden State Warriors. Now, it depends. If you're Steph Curry, do you want to ride out the sunset in Golden State, or do you want to compete like you have all your life? The issue is, to what extent are you going to ride out into a sunset if you're fighting for a damn playoff spot, play-in spot, if that? So real quick, let's go over why Steph Curry, in fact, is so screwed if he's going to be on the Warriors. Now, coming from the 2024 Paris Olympics, as we mentioned previously, we're on a high of Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James. But let's break it back and dive into those three specifically. Kevin Durant's going back to a team that just got swept in the first round. Tyler's happy kicking his feet, I know that. But LeBron James, he's also going back to a team where he's paired up with Anthony Davis. They have a shot at, the play-in, the playoffs, etc. But it's still a competitive Western Conference. Steph Curry, what exactly is he going back to? I'm not sure because, again, he's going to be fighting for a play-in seed basically the rest of his career if he stays in Golden State. Now, some off-season losses for the Warriors include Dario Saric, which not a huge name, but here at HTF we love Darios. Though we've also got Klay Thompson, who not only is one of the Splash Brothers, notoriously, in fact, drafted 2011, so he's been there since pretty much all of Steph Curry's career except for those 2 years prior. Not only did he go to a contender, he went to a Western Conference rival. But I won't delve into that too much. I want to talk about Chris Paul because, again, he's washed. He's only averaging 7, 8 assists per game, which is freaking phenomenal. But if we break down the Chris Paul trade back when he was acquired by Golden State, the Warriors gained Chris Paul. That's it. But Washington from that trade gained Jordan Poole, which in the 2022 championship run was arguably the second, third option on the team, as well as Patrick Baldwin Jr., Ryan Rollins. All due respect, I don't know y'all. The 2027 second round pick, a top 20 protected 2030 first round pick, and cash consideration. So essentially you gave up 2 guys, 2 picks, and you're, again, arguably your second option in your 4th championship run in the Steph Curry era for nothing because you just waived Chris Paul. And now he's going, again, to another Western Conference rival to pair up with one of the most promising, if not the most promising big men in NBA history. But okay, it might not be all that bad. Who did Golden State acquire? Let's take a look at that if we can throw the graphic up if you don't mind. We've got Kyle Anderson, Reese Beekman on a 2-way contract, mind you, Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, and Lindy Waters III. Again, I personally have not heard of Beekman or Lindy Waters III, and they both might not play because they are not listed in Golden State's depth chart, not even to the 4th string, mind you that, but there are no new starters on the team either, again, according to ESPN's depth chart for Golden State. So you not only lost 2 all-time greats, one of them was still valuable, he was averaging 17 points per game last season for Golden State, but you have no new starters to replace them. So what does the current team look like? You've got Brandon Podziemski, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Trace Jackson Davis, and Jonathan Kuminga coming off the bench unless something changes with Andrew Wiggins, however that might work. It's not a bad team at all, but past that, we're just talking about a bunch of who's, like it's an owl's vocabulary. Now let's break down Steph Curry's statistics, which just went off the board, but he averaged over 26 points per game. Oh, my bad. Over 26 points per game, 9th in the NBA, 5 assists, 4 rebounds on top of amazing splits with, 45% from the field it's okay, I guess. But moving on. What Steph Curry has brought to this organization as a franchise, because again, the NBA is a business, it's immeasurable. In 2009, when he was first drafted as if he got drafted a second time, when he was drafted, the Golden State Warriors were worth $335 million. 6 years later, when the Warriors won their first championship, that number almost quadrupled to $1.3 billion. And then 2019, when the Warriors lost to the Toronto Raptors in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, that previous number, 2015, almost tripled to $3.5 billion. And then from 2019 to last year, that value more than doubled to $7.7 billion, which is the most in the NBA, past the New York Knicks, who play in the most popular arena in the world, the Los Angeles Lakers, who, in my opinion, again, biased, are the best basketball market in the world. And the Chicago Bulls, who have, I'll give you this, I know Tyler had his little rant as well, but probably the most iconic NBA player of NBA history. Steph Curry's legacy as well, with the records he's broken, everything of that nature goes beyond belief of what a man could possibly do for a singular franchise. But again, this comes down to the league being a business, and I just want to break down what the Golden State Warriors look like in terms of financials, because again, businesses deal with money. The Golden State Warriors are $1 million short of the first apron, meaning Golden State owns all of its money, its rights, its draft picks, etc. If you were to pass that first apron threshold, you lose a lot of value. A lot of your assets pretty much as a team. On top of that, there are very few stars currently available to be traded, to be just acquired by Golden State because of the market, as well as these new first and second apron additions to the CBA. And it seems like the best opportunity for Golden State, like for Steph Curry to win in Golden State, is to either just eat up in the draft, but you can't really tank for Cooper Flag anymore because of the lottery pick. You've got Detroit, who's been bottom tier, one of the worst teams in recent memory in the NBA, still have yet to get a first-round pick. Either do really well in the drafts, I don't know, fleece somebody in a trade who isn't past the first or second apron threshold, either that or pick up free agent Talen Horton-Tucker. We'll leave it at that. But essentially, if you were to do that, you have to drop somebody like, I don't know, Buddy Hield or Kyle Anderson or Gary Payton II, all of which are worth up to $9 million. Two of them are just like the most recent assets that Golden State picked up, so you don't really want to do that. So what does Golden State have to offer Steph Curry? Diddly squat. What can Steph Curry do if he wants to win? Which again, he might not want to win. He might just, see the rest of his days out in Golden State. But if he wants to compete, again, this is according to our phone call with Tyler, he can either go to Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a lot of tradable assets, a lot of young guys, and the next few years, because then eventually you got to pay the guys like Shea, Chet Holmgren, Jane Williams, etc. Or he can come here to the Orlando Magic. Once again, a lot of tradable assets, good cap space. Everybody's there pretty cheap, and it's a young team for Steph Curry to kind of take under his wing as he sees the latter days of his career. And you still got Paolo Banchero, who of course is going to get his bag, as will Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs. I hope he does as well. But essentially, we went from a high of Steph Curry dropping 14 points in the first 3.5 minutes of the semifinals in the Olympics, as well as 12 points in the last 2.5 minutes to win himself his first ever gold medal, to now we may never see him in the playoffs again, which really hurts to say. But the best for Steph Curry, the best for the Golden State Warriors. They're probably one of the greatest player-to-team duos we've ever seen, especially in recent history. But that's about all the time we have for today. Thank you all so much for watching. As for tonight, we've got UCF football taking on New Hampshire, and we should blow them out like John Warner's Falcons were, in the preseason. But as for myself, this has been the first episode of Season 19 of Hitting the Field's main show. And until next week, go Knights and charge on.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back, okay? Always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.